the end times near? We're going to talk about that today here on the Building Bridges podcast. Coming up. What's up, everybody? My name is Josh Martin. This is the Building Bridges podcast. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about end times. How is the world going to end? When is it going to end? And how can we tell? Well, I'm going to take a little different approach than probably you're used to by alluding to the words that Jesus said. Jesus said, "No one knows when the world will end except the Father in heaven." Well, if no one knows when the world's going to end, why do we spend so much time trying to figure out how it's going to end? Here in America, I think a lot of the conversation about end times revolves around politics. That when we have conservative politicians in office, then God is on our side. Revival is just around the corner. When we have liberal politicians in office, then all of a sudden it's doomsday. The world's going to end soon because we have all these ungodly people in power. One thing you got to be mindful of as a Christian is to understand that America is not the focal point of the Bible. It's easy to assume so because we live in America. Everything we do is filtered through American culture, and so therefore our faith reflects that. But that's not the biblical mindset to have. God's chosen nation is not the United States of America, although it's a great country. God's chosen nation is Israel. And we also got to think about this. The Bible says there will be wars, rumors of wars, famines, and earthquakes. And so people see the news and they think, oh yeah, it's end times. Look at all this stuff going on. But guys, that has been going on for centuries. Read your history books. There have been famines. There have been wars, global wars. There have been civilizations that were in power almost over the whole entire country under one leader. And yet we're still here. And why is that? Well, the theological reason is only God knows when it will end. Now, I know a lot of people like to take the book like Revelation and excerpts of Daniel and talk about how all these things are fleshing out and what this means and what that means. And there are various theological arguments about Revelation, how to interpret it, if we're going to be called up before the end of the world, if we're going to endure to the end of the world. But it's okay to study those things, and it's okay to have opinions on it and to be fascinated by it, because it is fascinating. It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time. That's probably why we're so drawn to it. The warning is not to be so caught up in end times that you're not mindful of what's going on around you in the present. How the world will end, we only know that it will end. We know that God wins in the end. And one of the definite things we know at the tail end of Revelation is there will be a great white throne, and there will be a book. And when the book's opened up, those whose names were found in the Lamb's Book of Life will go to heaven with Jesus. Those names who weren't found will be thrown into the lake of fire. Then the world will burn, and there'll be a new heaven and a new earth. Those are definite things that everyone can agree on if you read Revelation. All the other stuff is about theological arguments and positions and all of those things. But I worry that Christians focus a lot on how it's going to end and not think about how to influence what's going on around you. There are people around you that need Christ. There are people around you that need encouragement. They're broken people, depressed people, angry people, bitter people. There's all kinds of people around us that God is working on their hearts. God is softening their hearts. He's speaking to them, and He is creating opportunities where at the right place at the right time, we may just have an eternal impact on people. We're called to make disciples of all nations, to love people, to share the love of God with people, to be empathetic, to be compassionate, to care. And if all we do is have a doomsday mindset and we're preparing for end times and everything's filtered through how terrible the world is and it's going to end soon, you are going to lose focus and you're going to lose impact on reaching people. I say all that because when you come across people who say they know the world's going to end, or you read books about people who know how to pinpoint everything and how it's going to end, you need to be very cautious what you're listening to and who you're listening to. A lot of cults come from this kind of mindset. Someone thinks they understand what's going to happen and that they have the knowledge to dispense upon other people. Other people gobble it up, think they know everything that they're saying. And before you know it, you have a cult on your hands. Only God the Father knows when it will end. And that's not the only thing in the Bible. The Bible is replete with all kinds of things, stories of hope, stories of love, stories of redemption. It's not just stories about wrath and judgment. The holistic mindset of God is not only that he will judge, but that he also loves. That's the whole picture of God. So instead of getting wrapped up in how it will end, take time to cultivate your relationship with God. Take time to invest in the people around you. Be a holy influence right now and not be distracted about what's ahead. I am Josh Martin. This is the Building Bridges podcast. You guys have a blessed day.